Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgium Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here from Antwerp, and today we are going to talk about a special beer from brewery Broeder about which we have talked earlier. We will be having the Lazarus Sherry Infused. The Lazarus series is a range of strong blonde beers infused with different liquors and spirits. I believe there are 5 variants currently, and that is probably where it got its name as well, because Lazarus is a mythical figure that pops up in the Bible no less than twice. In this case, I am guessing we mean the sick man that dies and is raised from the dead by Jesus himself. Because of that reason, Lazarus has been a synonym for being drunk and specifically losing consciousness because of heavy drinking since 1673, as far as we know from writings. Of course, passing out and waking up again sort of resembles the passing and resurrection of Lazarus, and we of course don't promote such behavior here. The name may also point to adding spirit, and in this case this is a 15-year-old Namesake Solera Especial. This is a Spanish sherry from the Williams and Humbert estate, which sounds very Spanish, in Jerez, Andalusia. Sherry is always aged for at least 3 years, but this specific one is aged for 15 years, and they used the traditional Solera system or Sistema Solera, meaning this is a dynamic aging process in which wines in several steps of aging are stored in racks, going from the youngest on the top to the oldest on the bottom, and that's also where that name came from, because Solera is floor in Spanish. Now, every now and then a portion of each barrel of each stage is removed and blended for bottling. Oloroso traditionally is a bit darker and sweeter and has a nutty flavor, and in this case the sherry also has some dried fruit flavor and some raisin flavor as well, and the flavors linger on for quite some time, so that's promising. The production process of this beer is quite interesting as well, as they don't just pour in the sherry. They actually infuse it in steps, so instead they fill up a barrel with the liquor, drench toasted American oak flakes in it, and let that rest for 3 weeks, so the flakes soak up the liquor as much as they can. By using flakes instead of barrels, they take advantage of the larger spread and surface area for a maximum efficiency extracting the aromas. Again, I refer to moonshiners. After those 3 weeks, the mixture is added to the base beer in the bright beer tank, which is brewed slightly below the 8.5% ABV that the finished beer has, since they are adding liquor which is higher in ABV. This should lead up to an amber-colored, nutty, woody, rather sweet sherry-infused strong blonde. So let's find out. Of course, they do have a quite nice label. They actually branded the Lazarus series separately from the Broeder series, which I think is a very smart thing to do. They put quite a lot of information on the labels here. Most of that I have told you in the past few minutes. Now, what is quite interesting is that they also put in a little info about the added spirit as well. In this case, Namesake Solera Especial 15 años Oloroso, an amber-colored wine of intense aroma suggesting dried nuts, full-bodied and balanced, with little acid and quite sweet in a long finish. Okay, very promising indeed. I do like that they actually mention the lack of acidity here. Of course, this is often the case with sherry and with port as well, especially the aged ones. Ooh. Okay, so we have a gusher. Clean up on aisle 5. Okay, so we are 2 minutes in and it is still gushing. So this, I'd say this is well re-fermented on the bottle and quite carbonated. How do we get gushers? Maybe a small side step here. Adding too much sugar, adding too much yeast when bottling, wrong temperature profiles, or just plain old bad luck. Since this is nowhere near stopping, guess I'll just have to pour. Now, of course, gushing does occur more often with these specialty beers than with mass production beers. So, and actually, there's, in my opinion, nothing really wrong with that. If tomorrow I have a Duvel or an Omer and that starts gushing, then I'll probably complain. With beers like this, yeah, that just really happens. So, I think we have concluded that this beer is quite heavily carbonated. It does have a beautiful color. It's somewhere between gold and amber, because of course we have the amber from the sherry and then the golden blonde from the beer, the base beer. So I actually find this quite beautiful. Some nice off-white foam, I'd say. It's not entirely white, but we have concluded before that foam doesn't have to be white. It has to follow the color of your beer. Rather heavy in scent. Quite boozy, I'd say. Of course, this is an 8.5% ABV, and we've learned before that high carbonation or high carbon dioxide content boosts the alcohol aromas. So it comes across quite boozy, quite heavy. I seem to get some of these nutty aromas already, and a bit of raisin, not necessarily the dried fruits that they talked about. Rather sweet as well. Actually a beautiful palate. It tastes a lot less heavy than it smells. It has a rather soft taste. And now I do get less nuts, more dried fruits. Also, it is quite balanced in that way that I can sort of distinguish the beer and sherry flavors, so it is a very nice infusion. I also get a bit of that woody character, so the toasted oak flakes, the chips, actually did their work. Of course, if you put in 3 weeks, yeah, they may work for you. Of course, it has lost a bit of its carbonation by gushing, but I do get a very full mouthfeel, but not an aggressive mouthfeel. Oftentimes, beers that have a full mouthfeel, because of heavy carbonation, are quite aggressive on the tongue, or quite aggressive on the roof of your mouth, and that's not the case with this. Even though we still see a lot of purling in the glass, it's not aggressive in the mouth. And I do get, yeah, a rather boozy, heavy aftertaste. I would say that this aftertaste would lean more towards Calvados or some sweet whiskies than sherry. But it is quite nice. It indeed lingers quite a while, so you can enjoy your beer flavor a bit longer. And I do think that this would go extremely well with some fatty fish like smoked salmon or something of that range. Okay. Of course, I'm not gonna chug it before the end of the video. I'll just enjoy it a little bit longer. And yeah, how should I score this thing? I don't know. I think it is a very well-made beer, but it's also maybe not my cup of tea. So I will score this somewhere in the high center. Let's say 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 and Untapped. So 7 out of 10. Very well made beer, but of course our friends in Prelude know how to brew, and I do think that the guys from Broeder know what they're doing as well when it comes to infusions. So 3.5 and Untapped, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So as usual, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, remarks, or you want to share your own experience with this beer, leave it down in the comments. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe and that bell icon so you'll get notified as first whenever I upload something. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.